Okay, all you, Sarah.
All right, hi everyone. I've met a lot of you. My name is Sarah Zhang, and today I'll be talking to you about the behavioral interview. I know some of you have had a lot of interview experience and some of you have not. So show of hands, who has done one or more interviews before? Everyone should have their hands up because they did one for KP.
With company or?
Just an interview. How many of you have done like, keep your hands up. How many of you have done 3 or more? Okay, that's still a good number. How about 5? Oh, okay. Oh, all right, good. Gives me a good idea. So behavioral interviews differ from case interviews because they come in looking at your behavior, basically. All right, so first thing you need to do to prepare for the interview is do your research. This is super, super important because the whole purpose of an interview, it's not about showing that you're the most accomplished person or to tell your life story. You want to show that you know what the company's about, you know what positions they're looking for. You don't have to write everything down. You know what they're looking for, and you fit that match. It's all about being the right match. And that's what matters. So, next thing, what to wear. Always ask ahead of time, because some interviews will be business casual, some will be business professional, some might even be casual. And it depends on the industry too. For example, marketing tends to be more laid back. You can wear colorful things, prints. My marketing professor for I-Corps always showed up in a blazer and jeans, like that was his signature look. However, if you're going into finance, consulting, any of the more conservative industries, you want to be wearing a full-on suit, not a lot of prints, basically as conservative as you can possibly get. So some big mistakes that I've seen in interviews, both during the KP interviews and otherwise, like I could talk about this forever, but these are just the big ones. Suit separates. If your interview requires you to wear a suit, wear a suit. Do not buy a blazer and like pants or a skirt from like 2 separate sources. It doesn't matter if they're the same color. Usually it'll be a different fabric, a different grain. They won't match. Spare yourself the trouble and just buy yourself a suit. Second thing, ladies, do not, I know that you want to be confident. You want to feel good about the way you appear, but do not try to look too sexy because you want people to remember you for what's inside your brain and the skills that you bring to the table, not what you look like. So if you decide to wear a skirt or a dress, make sure that's long enough. And when you sit down, sometimes it rides up, so make sure you pull it down and keep your legs shut. That is a big, big issue. Make sure you do that. And then secondly, make sure that your clothes are fitted, not skin tight. So no leggings, no tight pants. You want everything to lie smoothly. And watch out for like blouses especially that are too sheer. If you can see through it, it's probably the wrong choice. Even if you wear a camisole underneath, it's probably not professional enough. Gentlemen, I know we don't have too many in the room, but just basically make sure that you're put together, clean, make sure your shirt's not wrinkly, your hair is groomed, well shaved, and tuck in your shirts. Ladies as well, like tuck in your shirts, because that is something I've seen. It doesn't matter like what kind of style you're going for, it usually looks better if your shirt is tucked in. All right, what to bring. So who here has pet polio? Wow, okay. If you don't have one, and you are planning on going into corporate or business, I suggest you get one. I know it's like $30 or something like that, but it's worth the investment. It looks professional, you keep all your things together, and it's a step up from carrying like a folder or a backpack. So, I actually brought mine, but I'm sure you've all seen one before. You want to bring your resume. Oh, Anna, you got yours.
Yeah, I did.
Good for you.
Thank you.
You want to have your resume, for sure. Any application materials, for example, for the KP interviews, we asked you to bring your school schedule, right? And an application form. You want to make sure you have all that prepared. And ahead of time, make sure you ask how many interviewers you expect to have, if you expect to be a panel, so that you have enough copies for everyone. Like I know for the KP interviews, it might not have been super clear, but when in doubt, you can never have too many copies. Also, if you have business cards, you could bring those. Pictured is like, so KP, we did business cards a few years back, and that's just an example of some of the ones we had. Also, make sure you bring like pen and paper. You might not write a single word down during the interview. However, just the fact that you brought it shows that you're prepared and you're ready. And in fact, like you might find out things that you do want to remember and record. So it's always better to be prepared than not be prepared. All right, so the day of the interview. When you walk, before you walk into the door, you want to be thinking to yourself, positive thoughts. You want to be confident, but not arrogant. You want the interviewer to like you, but you don't want to grovel at their feet. What the objective should be to make a personal connection with them. So when you walk in, smile, shake hands, make eye contact. Make sure you introduce yourself, hand out all your materials, and when the interviewer introduces themselves, make note of their name. It's so important to remember names. If you're not good at it, there are tips and strategies for remembering names. You can just ask me or any of the other members after later. So, the handshake. It's super duper important, at least in the United States. A lot of Americans say that they really judge people on the quality of their handshake, which is kind of scary sometimes if you've never really had experience with it. But basically, you want the handshake to be firm and decisive, but at the same time, kind, warm, like not. Can I have a volunteer? Okay. You want a volunteer? All right, come on. So, thank you. Come here. Yeah. So some of the worst offending handshakes is one, the limp fish, where you just kind of like offer your hand out and just kind of like lukewarmly like, hi. Secondly, the vice grip, where you like grab onto the hand and squeeze as tightly as you can. You're not trying to show off your strength here. You just want it to be like firm, okay? Thirdly, the please kiss my hand, I'm royalty. No, okay. And you know, I have experienced all three of these handshakes. So people do this. Just don't be one of those people. All right, thank you very much. So, how about all of you turn to, I want you guys like practice some handshakes. Oh, another thing, this is random. When you shake someone's hand, or when you meet someone for the first time, it's polite to stand up for them. So if you're seated and someone's introducing you to someone, you should stand up to shake their hand. If someone's seated and you are standing, like you don't have to expect them to stand up, but typically like they should. But it's a sign of respect to stand up for people. Do not sit and be like, yes, I'll shake your hand. Stand up. So, why don't we all stand up?
Can I have a question though? When we shake, where should we be looking at, like their eye contact or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good question. Yeah. So when you shake hands, make eye contact, smile, but don't be creepy. And you want to shake like nice and firm, maybe like 2 or 3 times. You don't want to like throw it off. Yeah. But you also don't want to hold it on too long, because that's creepy. So, do you guys are you ready to practice? All right, so, yeah. Shake like 2 or 3 people's hands. Okay. much. So the other hand, you could leave it at your side. Sometimes, like, you might, like as you shake their hand, you might, like, put it on their arm. It depends on how close you want to get, because especially if you're a man and you're shaking hands with a woman, sometimes it's, like, it can make people uncomfortable to, like, be too touchy-feely. Even if you're a woman, you don't want to be too touchy-feeling as well. It depends on the situation. Like, if you know them pretty well, I would usually leave it at your side, unless you know that you're, like, certain cultures tend to be more touchy-feely. For example, a lot of Hispanic cultures, like, they'll kiss people on the cheeks. In those cases, like, it might be more normal to, like shake your hand and, like, hold, like, reach your arm up. Typically, they'll probably just leave it at your side. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, great. So it's a behavioral interview. So your behavior is super duper important. They all say you make your first impression within the first 3 seconds. It's true. So when you first walk in, from the moment you walk into the door, you want to be exuding confidence. You want to be standing tall. When you sit down, you want to be sitting straight up. Don't slouch. Don't, like, lean on one side. You want to be, like, balanced. And, like, again, make eye contact. That's a big thing in the United States. I know it depends on the culture. This is very contextual. Like I said, you want to do your research and know your audience. At least in the United States, you want to make eye contact and be conversational. Some big mistakes that I've seen in their interviews is use of profanity. Keep your language politically correct. Do not cuss. Do not use. Be careful what you say. Think before you speak. Another thing, do not fidget. Like, if you have, like, you know, you shake your leg, or you have, like, don't do that. And don't miss, if you're a lady, like, if you have long hair, do not fiddle with it. If you know that if you wear your hair down and you'll have a propensity to, like, always be tucking it behind your ears, just put it up. You don't want to be distracted by messing with your hair. Another thing, I would suggest not crossing your arms, because when you do, crossing your arms is kind of a defensive pose, and it kind of closes you off to the interviewer. You really want to be open. So you can lean forward. So, like, I know, like, sometimes when you're really interested in conversation, you'll lean forward. You don't want to lean too forward, but you can lean a little bit. Basically, you want to have, like, an open demeanor. Think of all the likable people you know, and basically try to act like that. Okay, so answering the questions. How many of you guys know about the STAR format? Okay, a good number of you, so I won't go through that. It's basically what we use in Kelly. Whenever they ask you a question, you want to respond in STAR format, which is basically, STAR format helps you present a story, keeps it concise, and you can, like, give complete examples without going over the limit. So you want to make sure you prepare for these questions beforehand. To prepare for interview questions, the most important thing is to know yourself really well. Know what you're capable of. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, what you're good at, what you've done before. Yeah. And then, so when they ask you a question, if you haven't prepared for that question, don't be afraid to take a moment and think. I know sometimes, like, especially in panel interviews, you can feel pressure to be like, oh, I need to say something. If you don't have an answer right away, that's okay. You can say, oh, can I have a moment? Or, like, give me a moment to think, and you can think it over. Like, don't take too long, but don't feel rushed into it either. Another thing, when you prepare for interviews, so you guys all know about, like, common interview questions, right? Yeah, okay. If you don't, you can Google it. There's, like, a million online. Basically, the big ones are, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Tell me about a challenge. Why would you be a good fit? Whenever you answer a question, you want to tailor your answer to the position. So this goes back to doing your research. You want to know, what are they looking for? And you want to make sure that you have those skills and you're presenting it to them. So, things not to do when you're answering questions. Avoid using generic terms. Don't say, I'm an awesome person, or I'm very good at this. Especially you want to show instead of tell them. Like if you say, instead of saying, I have excellent time management skills, you might give them an example. Oh, I had 24 hours to do these tasks, and this is what I did. I split up my time like this, and I managed to get everything done on time. And that kind of goes along with STAR. So when you use STAR, it'll help you find those examples. And so you can prove your attributes instead of just saying them. Another thing, do not fudge the truth. If you are applying for a position or applying for a award, but you don't have it yet, don't say that you do. I know sometimes it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I like to say that you're a little bit greater than you are, but don't. Like even the tiniest things can ruin your credibility. Another thing, when people ask, what's your weakness? Don't say, I don't have any weaknesses, or I'm so good at this that it's a weakness. To be honest. If you can't think of a weakness, that means that you need to think some more. Think more carefully about what your skills. If you're still struggling, ask someone. Ask someone you know, ask a professor. And sometimes it takes a second eye, to help you identify those. Also, don't memorize speeches. Like, you have an idea of what questions that are coming up, but make sure that when you are answering that you maintain a conversational tone. So don't feel pressured to memorize everything word for word. Make sure that it still flows. All right. And then when you leave, make sure that, I would suggest shaking hands again, as you leave, but also make sure that you get the contact information of the interviewers, whether that is their phone number, their email, or maybe a physical address. You're going to need this because when you go home, you're going to have to write a thank you card. So this is just like a generic structure for how to write a thank you card. You learned this in C204. How many of you have taken it or are currently in it? All right, yeah. I know Daryl, who teaches the honor section, he taught me this. But this format, basically, it's like STAR in that it helps you it gives you a structure to write a meaningful note. Basically, the purpose of the thank you card is to, after the interview, you want to make an impression. You want to make sure the interviewer remembers you. The purpose of this note is that when they read this card, they'll be like, wow, this applicant really knows what's up. They know what the position is. They know that they're a good fit. And I know if I hire this person, they will make the most of this opportunity. So also, on the right here, see in the pink, you want to make sure when you choose your thank you card, you want to make sure that it's professional. So probably not something like that. Maybe something more like on the bottom. So something like simple, something clean. Another, something that I look for when I buy thank you cards is like the weight. You don't want it to be too thin or cheap. Something kind of thick weight. Like it can be the plainer it is, the more you want to invest in quality. I brought some examples actually of my favorite thank you cards. I'll start one here. I like these a lot because they're really simple. They're very simple. They get the point across, and then the quality is really good. Like the paper is thick and it's embossed, and it even comes with like a little sticker that you can put to seal it. But you can pass that around, take a look. So that's a thank you card. Oh, I have an example. So this is one that I wrote to someone I had through a professor I know connected me with someone else that kind of helped me through figuring out going to grad school and why, the reasons why to go to grad school and what grad schools to go to. So if you look at it, the basic structure is you start off, what are you grateful for? And then you continue on giving specific examples of how that experience or whatever they did is helping you. In an interview, you would probably talk about stuff that you talked about during the interview. So maybe that's another good reason to bring a note, a legal pad, so that you can take notes oh, what did I talk about? oh, what are some interesting things about an interview? Or, you know, at the end of an interview, they always ask, oh, do you have any questions for us? And then you can ask, like, you could write about, like, oh, thank you for answering this question, or, oh, I learned about your company culture, and that just makes me more excited to work there. Something like that. And then at the end, you want to make sure that you're looking forward and thinking about the next contact. Even if you don't expect to ever see this person again, you want to make sure that you're not burning bridges. Make sure you're maintaining the contact so that you never know. Someday, later down the line, you might be working together. So you want to make sure you have some kind of line that is thinking forward and, oh, what might happen next? And then at the bottom, you'll want to sign, but also print your name so that they can read it, because I know my signature, at least, is not legible. All right, so any questions? Yeah.
Are we gonna mail those thank you cards to the interviewer?
So I typically like to do a handwritten thank you. I think it's more personal, and it's a lot nicer when you have it in your hand. I know you can also do thank you emails. It depends on the turnaround. Like if you think that they need it right, like that they'll probably make decisions within a few days, it might be more appropriate to send a thank you email so that they have that while they're like making their decisions. You want to make sure that you write and send out the thank you card within 24 hours of your interview. So you need to be like thinking about this card before the interview, so that in the interview you're like taking notes, like, oh, what am I going to write in the card? So if it's something that's not super urgent, you could mail a handwritten one. In my experience, like a lot of the cards that I've written are usually for people like on campus, so I can like hand deliver it right away. And a lot of postal mail goes pretty quickly. However, sometimes, yeah, you can do thank you emails as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah?
I just wanted to add on to that. So you can also, another trick is you can just have the card with you right after the meeting. You can write the response in the lobby, hand to the secretary, and it'll be in their inbox right away, which can sometimes make a really good impression.
Mm-hmm. That's a good suggestion. All right. Any other questions? You're all so quiet. Okay, so I have another exercise. I want each of you to write down your 3 strongest attributes, and then also your 3 weakest attributes. And then following that, I want you to start thinking about, for your strengths, think of a story, an example, an experience in your life that shows how, like, why you have that attribute. You don't want to just say, I have this skill. You want to prove it. So think about what evidence you have to prove your case. And then for your weaknesses, think about how you recognized it and then what you're doing about it. Okay? So I'll give you maybe like 10 minutes to do that. Write that down. If you have trouble, you can talk to each other.